Hey guys, this is part 2 of the Basket Case BMW facelift project. In the last video we installed a facelift front bumper, hence the name, and a new set of fog lights. In this video we're going to install some high-tech hood pins, because race car, and we're also going to install some headlight halos to give the car some attitude. Anyway, let's get started. Hey guys, I need to break into the video with an update. I was originally going to make this video include the hood catches and the headlight halos, but the video is starting to get pretty long. So I'm going to separate the headlight halos into its own separate video. So this video is just going to be about the hood latches. Okay, back to the action. Okay, so here are the hood pins I'm going to use for this project. As you can see, they are Aerocatch, and there is the part number, if the camera will focus. Okay. Oh, and by the way, these are not sponsored. I paid full retail price. Also, I bought some hardware at the hardware store, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So basically the idea is to install them right where the stock hood pins are right now. Now in order for me to do that, of course, the stock parts have to come out. And I could be wrong, but it looks like the entire radiator support needs to come out in order for me to remove these. So that means the whole front bumper has to come off, the headlights probably have to come off, and this piece of plastic ductwork has to come off. I'm gonna go ahead and do that stuff off camera so the video doesn't get super long. We'll be back in a sec. Okay, so the front bumper is off. Oh, by the way, don't forget to unplug the fog lights and the horns. I think next I'm gonna remove this plastic duct in front of the radiator. So yeah, I had two fasteners over here and two over there. They were those plastic rivets that you undo with a Phillips screwdriver. Anyway, let's get this guy out of here. Transmission cooler. Okay, so it looks like one more piece of plastic has to come out. There's like a piece of plastic trim that just fits into the radiator core support right here. Looks like it's got a couple Phillips screws that hold it in. One here and one there. Okay, so the screws are out, and it looks like you have to push it backwards that way to disengage these little tabs right here, like that. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I think I need two hands for this.
Yeah, me.
Okay, so I don't think this plastic trim piece needs to come completely out, actually. You can see here, this is the hood catch right there. And looks like all we need to do is remove these screws and just slide it out of this gap right here. And then we can, well, on this side, we got plenty of room. It can just drop right out. Oh, by the way, these screws are Torx T30. And yeah, I'm using an impact drill. YOLO! It's fine. Okay, so these hood catches are nice and loose. This one might need some persuasion to get it past a piece of plastic, but this one fell right out. Very nice. Okay, so the hood pins are out, or I should say the hood catches are out. That wasn't too hard. And oh, by the way, that background noise is a fan, because it's Florida and it's summertime and it's really freaking hot outside. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, we have to deal with the cable next, and thankfully there's a spot right here where we can disconnect it. Okay, here's that spot on the cable I was talking about. We've got two little tabs, one right here and one right there. We should be able to depress those tabs with my pocket screwdriver. Okay, here's a closer look at those two tabs I'm talking about. This one right here and this one right there. Once again, you depress them. I did it with a pocket screwdriver. Just insert it in there and gently press down on them. And let's see if I can do this with one hand. You just pry that open like that. And it looks like actually this part of the cable comes out. Just like this. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I think it would be easier to remove this if the headlight was not in the way. And you know what? I probably have to remove the headlight anyway to install the halos. Okay, the headlights are out, and when that driver's side headlight came out, the hood latch basically just fell right out of the car. Okay, so replacing, or I should say removing those hood latches is pretty easy. All you have to do is take apart the entire front end of the car. Piece of cake. All kidding aside, yeah, here is the hood latch, of course. Now, my idea was, okay, let me rewind. I've seen people make custom brackets to replace these hood catches. Ooh, spoiler alert, you're not supposed to see that. Anyway, I've seen people make custom brackets to replace these, but I figure since we already have this, maybe we can use it. So I bought some hardware at the hardware store, and the idea is maybe we can get one of these washers to fill that in, and then the hood pin will fit in there perfectly. Let's see if we can make that work. Okay, so it looks like this part of the hood catch, it kind of, if you can see here, it's got these tabs that kind of wrap around the back and then grab on the back of it. So I'm wondering if I can just pry these tabs loose, maybe I can pull this piece right off. Okay, so I pried these tabs loose with a pair of pliers, and we're almost there, but it looks like we got this big rivet right here that goes completely through the whole thing. That's the other end of it. So, okay, so we have our brackets liberated from the stock hood catch mechanism. We had to do some drilling, and we also had to do some gentle persuasion with a punch. And oh, by the way, I totally did not just ram a drill bit right through my table. Nothing to see here. Move along. Okay guys, I'm going to try something. I've got one of these brackets in my hydraulic press, and I've got an impact socket on here, and I'm going to try to squish that center part of the bracket flat. We'll see if that helps us at all. Oh, and by the way, I'm wearing shatterproof safety glasses, but y'all need to engage your safety squints, okay? Alright, here we go. Alright, let's release this thing and see if we did any good. Oh, excuse you. Hey, it shrunk the hole. Okay, Regis, I think this is my final answer. You can see I removed those two tabs right here. There they are. Also, I test fitted the big washer, and I don't think I'm going to use it because I don't know if you can see that on camera, but there's a gap between the washer and the bracket there. and I don't like that. So I think I'm going to use this smaller washer. We'll tack weld that washer in there, and then we're also going to tack weld a nut on top of the washer. Now I'm going to weld these in place because with this installed in the car, it's going to be upside down like that. So I figure I will just turn this into a captured nut. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to weld a washer and a nut to the back side of the bracket, and that will give us a mounting point for the hood pin. Now all these parts, the nut, the washer, and I believe the bracket, have a zinc coating to help protect from rust. However, welding through that zinc coating is going to create toxic fumes. So we need to remove the zinc coating off all these pieces. Now ironically, you can do that with rust remover, or at least you can if the rust remover has an acid in it. This stuff has phosphoric acid, and I think that'll do the job. I don't see anything happening there. Let's try the washers. Oh, I can smell it. You can't smell it through the video, obviously, but I can smell the gases coming off of here. Actually, if we look really close, maybe you can see on camera, you can see it all fizzing up and stuff. Oh, here we go. Check that out. You see all the fizzy stuff right there? Alright, so the acid is working on these washers. I'm not sure if it's working on these, though. Yeah, I think this might not be a zinc coating. It might be just some kind of silver paint or something. Okay, I've been playing with chemicals for over an hour at this point, and here are the results. First of all, here is the original hardware with the zinc coating still intact. You can see this nut and the washers are nice and shiny. And these are the ones that were treated with the phosphoric acid. This is just the bare steel that you're seeing here. Also, these brackets, at this point, I'm pretty sure this is not a zinc coating. That's probably some kind of paint. So I'm actually just going to grind this off with the Dremel. And I don't need to remove the paint from the whole thing. I just need to get the center part where I'm going to weld it. Okay, that didn't take very long. I probably should have done that to begin with. Anyway, I think these guys are ready for welding. By the way, I'm using a short bolt to hold everything in place so I can weld it. Now, I'm just going to do some tack welds around the outside. I'm not going to weld the whole thing. Oh, by the way, I'm using a crappy Harbor Freight welder, so I'm going to preheat it with the torch. Okay folks, the welding is done, and with the exception of this one, I would say the welds look pretty decent. At least pretty decent for a flux core welder. This one was my first weld, and I think the voltage was too low, so it basically just laid down a bunch of turds. I upped the voltage a little bit, did the rest, and they look alright. Oh, and to protect these guys, I decided to use some galvanizing compound. I used this stuff on my fence, and it lasted for years and years. Actually, it's still good. You can see how old the can is. Anyway, let's spray this stuff on there. Okay guys, the brackets are ready to install. Now, I didn't bother with removing all that welding spatter because, honestly, nobody's going to see that. this is what they're going to see in the car. And by the way, here's why I welded that nut in place. With that nut captive like that, if I need to adjust the pin, all I have to do is loosen up the jam nut, adjust the pin as necessary, and retighten the jam nut, and it's good to go. Okay, the pins are in. Now I just need to remove this old stuff from the hood. I believe these are all Torx T30 bolts. Okay, so I used a hammer and a punch to put a mark in the center of... Oh boy. Hey Mike, do you know how to operate a camera? To put a mark in the center of the circle there. And that should actually show up on the top of the hood as well. So now I can drop the hood and I can drill the hood from above. Yeah, so here are the marks. There's one here and one over here. Right there. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot easier to drill it from above instead of trying to hold the drill awkwardly. Oh, and I put some wood blocks on top of my hood pins so I don't accidentally drill into them. Actually, before we drill the holes, I'm going to take some measurements. I want to make sure that the distance from this body line to the hole, or where the hole is going to be, is the same on this side as on that side, so it's symmetrical. Okay, before we start drilling and cutting in the hood, first we need to mark out where the latch is going to be on the hood. And that's going to tell us where to drill and cut. Okay, thankfully the hood pins come with instructions. And you can see on this drawing here, right there is where the hood pin is located in the latch. And you can see they gave us some dimensions so that we can plot this thing out on the hood. And by the way, this spot right here corresponds to this spot on the hood where the hood pin is going to come through. Okay, so I took some measurements and I used one of the mounting brackets as a template to trace out the hole that we need to cut. Oh, and I forgot to mention, since the hood pins are not actually centered in this circular part right here, we're actually not going to be drilling a hole here. The hole that we need to drill for this circular part of the cutout is probably going to have to be around here somewhere. And then of course we'll be drilling another hole for this circular part back here. Okay, so it looks like the two sizes of hole saw that I need are 1 1/8 inch for the small end and 1 3/4 inch for the big end. And then we'll connect the dots with the Dremel tool or something. The hood has layers like an onion. I have to cut through all of them. Dremel tool. So earlier I mentioned layers, and this hood has a few. So after we're done shaping this on the top, we're going to have to get underneath the hood and cut out some stuff under there too. Actual Dremel tool. Okay, so yesterday we cut the holes in the hood for the hood latches, and the latches fit in here nicely. The only problem is they don't sit flush. And that's because there is some material. This is the actual underside reinforcing structure of the hood, and some of it's getting in the way. So we're going to have to remove some of this material. Weight reduction. Okay, so let's see if our hard work paid off. Nice. But the big question is, will that bracket fit underneath? I've got my doubts. That's a negative, Ghost Rider. We're gonna have to adjust the hole a little bit. Realistically, it's probably going to take multiple steps of doing some cutting, test fitting, doing some more cutting, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to put that all on camera because it's going to make the video super long and super boring. So we will come back after I've got this all figured out. Okay folks, you just missed about an hour of cutting and grinding and test fitting and more cutting and grinding. I hope you don't mind. But in all seriousness, check it out. We've got our bracket installed in the hood. Or I should say, our bracket fits in the hood. So the next step will be to drill the mounting holes in the hood. Okay, so unfortunately not all the screw holes line up perfectly. We're going to have to modify the screw holes a little bit. Okay, it's a couple days later. I finally got some more time to work on the car, and we got one of them. It took a little bit of work though, and now we got to do the other side. Fun times. Okay, and here's what I did to make it fit. I used Dremel Actual with a cutting disc to oblongate all these holes, and that makes it easier to get the cutting disc in there to shape the holes how they need to be. And last but not least, I used an assortment of hand files and sandpaper to round off all the sharp edges in the sheet metal, because I don't want my hands to get all sliced up like cold cuts at a sandwich shop. And this, I think, is why a lot of people avoid installing the hood catches in this part of the hood. If you look closely, there are 4 layers of sheet metal there. And of course I had to cut through all of them. Yeah, fun times. Also, I should mention that this area of the hood has a pronounced curve to it, and these latches, of course, are flat, so they don't want to sit flush. The way I dealt with that is to just take a block of wood and carefully press down on the hood, like so, just to flatten this out a little bit. And then when you install this, the screws will draw it down tight. Okay folks, we're in the home stretch. Before I install the hood latches for good, I want to paint all this bare metal to help prevent rust. So I went ahead and I cleaned up this area of the hood with just a rag and some brake cleaner. And you can see I also put some painter's tape on here to prevent overspray on top of the hood, because I don't want to mess up my paint job. Anyway, let's get this all painted up. Okay, so these rubber bumpers for the pins turned out to be just a little bit too short. I was going to throw some washers under them, but yeah, the washer won't go over the pin. So the pin has to come out. But before I do that, I went ahead and marked the pins so that when I reinstall them, I don't have to go through the whole process of fitting them again. And also, while I've got the pins out, I might as well remove some of that extra length. Alright, we got our pin cut to length and we got a couple washers on it, so it should be good to go. Okay, so the height on the hood pins is good. However, the X and Y, so to speak, needed to be adjusted a little bit to put them in the hole in the hood latch. So to do that, I took a piece of pipe, slid it over the top of the pin, and I just tugged it a little bit
Yeah, me.
to finagle it into place. And that's basically it. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, this video is getting a little bit long, so we're going to separate the headlight halo install into its own separate video. And that means that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.